You asked for it, and here it is.
I want winners.
Local sports talk from a couple of guys who have nothing better to do with themselves than talk sports.
Victory is mine.
And things not related to sports.
Nerds!
Strap in for the fastest 60 minutes in sports radio.
Which might explain why you can't get a date.
Isn't 60 minutes always 60 minutes?
Quick and painless.
Whatever.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
It's Danny and Justin, right now on the Valley's best sports station, Fox Sports Eugene.
Hello, neighbors. Welcome high atop the Delta Triad in the Crystal Palace on a Tuesday. Fox Sports Eugene, live from the Bigfoot Beverages studio, the Oregon Man Clinic's hotline at 541-343-KORE. Say it together, kids. 541-343-5673. It's the Danny and Justin radio program. We are taking over the world, as you can find us now on the iHeart Radio app. You can find us on Amazon Podcasts. You can find us on the Spotify. And it's kind of like when someone doesn't know the whole landscape of the land, they call it the. It's like when people called it the internet. You know, So the Spotify. I told my daughter we were on Spotify. She says, well, geez, Dad, it's about time. And then we're also on YouTube. And we're going to be bouncing back and forth between Danny and Justin and on YouTube, Fox Sports Eugene, because Fox Sports Eugene has a YouTube channel. I just found out yesterday. But we also have the Danny and Justin show right over there as well. But you can find us on Twitter as well, Danny and Justin, Blue Sky Danny and Justin. And you can find us right here between 2 and 3 every single weekday, Monday through Friday. I'm Danny Hamill right over there. It is my tag team partner, Justin Grossweiner. We call him Baby J. What up, boy?
Do they not still call it the internet?
Well, I don't know if they call it the internet. It's internet.
That's true, I guess. But I still, you're going to use the internet.
So the other thing that is a bit irritating to me, it's a pet peeve, is when people will say www dot something. It's like you don't need the www anymore. Just say
Everybody
the name.
knows.
Just say the name. The more important thing is that is it .com? Is it .net?
Yeah.
There are others
.org.
.org. We got others that are .just .co, not even with the .com. And it's all
Very
about
important distinction.
It's all about if they can grab the name. And that's the
Right.
whole so a lot of people, everything was grabbed up on the .com, and so then they started moving to .net. And then it was, well, of course, .org is you're supposed to only have those if you're a non-profit organization or like a educational
He's using
government.
air quotes, everybody.
Yeah, this will be a lot better when we have the YouTube channel up and people can see us. That'll be fun. You know what? I'm going to start wearing crazy hats when we start doing the broadcast on the YouTube channel. So Woody's been doing some work here in the studio. So we now have another access point for someone to come in and actually sit live instead of sharing a microphone. Not that we were poor or anything else like that. It was just more logistics. And so Woody and can I say Robin? Yeah, the engineer have been in here.
Sure. You already
It's just
revealed
like
it.
I already did it, so it's like
kinda
the
already screwed
secret's out. So they were in here doing some work, and we kicked them out to be able to do the show. So thanks for joining us, friends, wherever and however you might be listening. We appreciate your ears as we do our little circus here we call the Danny and Justin radio program. Good show for you today, we hope. As always, it'll be the first-time guest extravaganza as one of the voices of the Eugene Emeralds will make his debut appearance. He's the home radio announcer. He's also the assistant GM, director of finance and corporate sales. He also pops the popcorn, probably sweeps the floors, and makes sure all of the paper towels are at your ready. It's Matt Dompe will be joining us on the program, just about 20 after. We'll get to know him a little bit and find out. It's just early in the season, just 15 games in for the M's. It's a long season. I think it's 76 games. He'll correct me if I'm wrong, but it's one of those long season A-ball. And yes, folks, we will talk to him about the stadium issues and all of the consternation that's going on there because the M's have been here forever. We are not just going to sidestep that. But we have to kind of let things play its way out. But we'll have Matt on the program here a little bit later on. We've got a lot more to talk about as well. The Beavers squeak out a win over Gonzaga at Goss Stadium, and they're playing again today. And then they'll get ready for the Ducks for the rivalry series, a 3-game set at PK Park, and then a single game next Tuesday back up at Goss Stadium. The Oregon men are hosting Portland, which is likely going to be a bit of a revenge game. The weather is going to be great. Now, remember the last time Portland and Oregon tangled up in the Bluff, Oregon loses the game by hitting...
Battle of the Brothers.
Huh?
The Battle of the Brothers.
That's right, the Umwald brothers. But the Ducks end up losing the game after the relief staff comes in and unfortunately plunks 3 pilots, and the walk-off...
Some good alliteration.
Go
there.
ahead. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's what I get paid the big bucks for. And then Melissa Lombardi's rocket ship, that is the Oregon Ducks softball team, moved up in one poll to number 5. So now they're number 5 in both the major polls. They did not move up any in the main poll that is counted toward the NCAA, but not surprising because the top 4 teams also won over the weekend. So there's not going to be a whole lot of movement if the people in front of you get wins. But the series victory, I'll turn that off if that's bothering your papers.
Can you turn it off?
I will. Can you? Well, then you got to talk for a second. But I just want to finish the thought. The victory for the Ducks in the series over UCLA, very important in the long run, and we'll talk about that in a minute because they're coming down the stretch, and the Oregon women are going to be on the road to take on Indiana this weekend.
Yes, and obviously a very important series, not just because of just they proved what they could do against one of the best teams in the nation, but they're also one of the I believe they're in the top of the Big Ten now.
They are by a game
because
that
over
was
UCLA.
Whoever was going to win the series, whoever won more games than the other, win the series or sweep, was going to walk out with the lead. Now it's just a slim 1-game lead, and you've got 3 series in total left in conference play. So I think what's that, 9 games? But it seems like the season just started yesterday.
I know it really does seem like a shorter season.
But they've won 4. They're the only team in the country that's won over 40 games as well.
Well,
Melissa
you know what's
Lombardi's
really
squad.
crazy is that loss they had on Saturday was, what was it, 8-0? I think it was in Run Rule.
The Run Rule loss, their worst loss of the season.
Right? Yeah. I think did we talk about these yesterday?
We did talk about
only
it.
2 losses previously were two
run losses. Yeah,
that's
I mentioned
insane.
That. Yeah. Were you listening to anything I was saying?
Clearly, I
yesterday?
was listening. I'm just bringing it up again.
I thought you thought you had it in your notes there or something like that.
No, I just was thinking about it. I mean, it's pretty insane what they're doing because not only are they winning games like at a crazy rate, but it's even when they're losing games, it's competitive except for that one game against one of the best teams in the nation in UCLA. So it just really goes to show how I think that it's sometimes young teams take a while to figure things out. This team never did that. It figured it out right away. They proved it. They had the belief in themselves early on, and that comes from putting in the work. And actually, something that I was talking about with Aaron Slindy when you were gone for one of those days was that it's easier, I think, for freshmen in softball, maybe in some other sports, because it's a obviously later season sport, and so you get more of a time for an adjustment period coming in as a freshman. Because I was thinking about that. You know, I came in as a freshman, not as to Oregon, but just as a freshman to college, and just going anywhere as a freshman in college is tough. So being able to adjust and also be a student athlete and do all the things that they have to do. I just was thinking about that, how hard that is. But she made a great point about how you can adjust easier maybe in a later season sport. So clearly the freshmen on this team have adjusted early on, and they've been doing it all season long. It hasn't been like, oh, they've been coming on strong in the later part of the season. They were doing this from the beginning of the season. So that's been what's been maybe the most impressive thing to me.
Well, and keying that are the superlative 4 freshmen that have really grabbed headlines: Riley McCoy, Emma Cox, Stephanie Maake, and I'm missing one here. I got one more. Kaylin Jones, who has stepped up. So, and it's a credit to Melissa Lombardi's staff, assisted by Sam Martyr and Sydney Romero, Alyssa Palomino Cardoza, Kaylin Jackson. I'm getting all those in, so everybody gets, and Kaylin's the strength and conditioning coach. And that's one, and I want to jinx this. You talk about announcers jinx. So this team has not been injured. They have kept that intact. Now, yeah. I'm not giving out my home address in case something happens, but, you know, let's knock on stuff and make sure that it doesn't happen. But it starts with pitching, and when you start with Lindsey Grine and Elise Sokolsky there in the circle, backed up by Taylor Spencer, and then the offense, and throw in the mix, why not? Melissa Lombardi's calling card as a head coach has been her defensive prowess and how she teaches and you do teach defense. You teach the positioning, you teach situations. Everything in baseball and softball especially is knowing the situation. That is so lost in how some teams go off script. And how many times have you seen in a pressure situation, somebody should have been going to second or third with the ball, and they just blank, and they don't know where to go. Or in a rundown
the cutoff man, and then,
hitting the cutoff. In a rundown situation, knowing the right side to throw the ball and how you attack and how you rush or push. All these little nuances, that's what practice is for, and that's what's drilled into the player's head so they do it in an automatic fashion.
Well, it's about fundamentals a lot of the time. It's about making the right play every time because there's a reason why you're getting it to the cutoff, because they can decide where they're going to have the ball go. Sometimes that throw into home plate isn't going to be the right throw at that point. I think it was actually displayed very well the last play of the game on Sunday when Lushar threw
the double
out,
play.
Yeah, the double play at the end of the game, and it was a great throw.
Perfect.
Yeah,
it was. All right, let's get to news and notes. We're going to have Matt Dompe from the Eugene Emeralds joining us in about 10 minutes here on the Danny and Justin radio program. Who wants to go first this time? Do we do a coin flip? We really should have production meetings. We really do.
Yeah, we just.
You want me to? Because I can go last with the doll thing, because I think you want to talk about. Or do you want to talk about the stadium thing last?
The stadium thing?
Did you not? I swear,
we did
kid,
have a production meeting.
We did. Okay, I'm going to go first.
Memory.
North Carolina and Texas Christian, otherwise known as the Horned Frogs of TCU, have added a wrinkle to their season-opening showdown. They start on September the 5th. It was supposed to be in Fort Worth at TCU's home field. It is now going to be going across the pond. North Carolina and TCU will play in Dublin. It will be considered a home game for TCU, so they're going to get compensated for it. The game is going to be the debut of Bill Belichick as Tar Heels head coach.
I'm not the biggest fan.
I know you're not a fan of going across the pond.
Across the pond. I don't think it's the best thing for the athletes. But speaking of athletes, former Blazer and current Milwaukee Bucks All-Star guard Damian Lillard is going to play in Game 2 against the Indiana Pacers tonight. And Indiana took Game 1 of the series, so they definitely need him to come back. It seems like this turnaround from his injury, which it just seems like, when based on what the doctors are saying, this is a pretty miraculous recovery. Didn't think that he'd be back this season, and from what I understand, this is just like a crazy timeline.
Well, I'm sure that the Bucks are going to be more than happy to get Dame back if they can win.
Well, there seems to be
there's some
trouble in
disconnect.
paradise
Absolutely.
in Milwaukee right now.
They thought they were going to start stringing together back-to-back championships with Dame and Giannis.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, there were people there that did.
Well, he's 34 in terms of Damian Lillard's age, so I don't think it was necessarily a not one, not two, not three LeBron reference there. But I think that as much as anything, it has been a disappointment, and this will be certainly an opportunity for them to make some sort of playoff push, but I don't necessarily think they're going to beat the Pacers.
Danny Justin radio program live from the Bigfoot Beverages studio here on a Tuesday on Fox Sports Eugene. I did not hear about this earlier, that there is a LeBron James Barbie. It's selling like hotcakes on a platform called StockX. They sold out already. They retail for $75, but there's only a limited edition run of them, of course. Up the demand by decreasing the supply. That's Economics 101. But the resale market already on some of these dolls is upwards of $150, so doubling in cost. And here are some of the new dolls that are out there that you can still get your hands on, Baby J, if you so desire. One is called the LeBron James Voodoo Doll Parody. Don't like his cockiness? Stick a pin in him. It actually comes with pins. All right, here's another one. The Space Jam 2.
This doesn't seem real.
They are real.
I can't believe this.
The Space Jam 2 crochet doll. Know someone who's good at crochet? When you look at something that looks like nothing good, you buy the doll. I'm just reading off the script. LeBron James Succulent Planter Pot. These jokes write themselves.
I literally think it's like a joke.
It's not.
I know StockX is a resale site, so
the LeBron James face pillow.
Yeah, that's
I would never
wow.
put that on my bed.
No,
ever.
Thank you. But hey, there's some big LeBron fans out there.
They're all jokes. They're all jokes. They're not all real.
I'm about to say, there's no way these are real.
But you thought about it for a second.
I mean, the StockX was a smoking red gun I don't know. That's the thing. It's a smoking. It was a smoking gun of like, all right,
Just
this,
put the
like,
red in there. Just
yeah.
smoking gun is fine.
Yeah, smoking gun. Red flag is sort of where I was going as well. Speaking of red flags, Chicago sports fans have been well documented not being able to watch their sports teams recently, and there's been actual data that's come out now. The NHL viewership was reported by the Austin Karp of Sports Business Journal, and for one of the teams in Chicago, the Blackhawks, the numbers were not very good at all. It was a decline of 78% in terms of last season, and I'm not a Blackhawks fan, so this is more your alley, Danny. But the owner of the Blackhawks, which is Danny Wirtz, remarked about what the decline in viewership and said at the end of the day, the availability of our games on TV this past season is unacceptable, and our fans deserve better. I am focused on finding potential solutions for next season with our partners at CHSN, which is the new Blackhawks television home, Chicago Sports Network, which replaced NBC Sports Chicago, and it's just really been a mess. I can say from kind of being a local there that the Marquee Sports Network has been a new thing. The WGN used to carry both the Blackhawks, Cubs, Sox, and
Bulls,
and the Bulls.
So
it's a mess now.
Overreaching on all this, take it out of the market of Chicago and such. And first of all, I'll just tell the ownership there, put a better product on the ice. That's first. Chicago fans will come back if you put a good product on the ice. It doesn't even have to be a Stanley Cup winning product. Just put a good product on the ice. You've had 4 coaches in 3 years. Figure it out, and they will come back. That's first. Second, overreaching to every market is have the ability to engage the fans as easy as possible. The Blazers were finding this out painfully for a few years. Just bad partnerships. The Pac-12 found this out painfully when they tried to develop the Pac-12 network, but then they didn't have a partner for it. So you had a network, you had no platform for anybody to utilize it. So figure that out first. So
fan engagement. It's all about the fans when it comes down to it.
Absolutely it is. All right, so top 5 baseball stadiums in the USA, according to USA Today reporters. They visited all the fields, a bunch of different things that they put into it, including the atmosphere, including concessions, including accessibility, including the picturesque, the ambiance in a stadium.
Right.
Here's your top 5, going from 5 to 1. Fenway Park in Boston, iconic.
Okay, interesting.
That's number 5. Number 4, Oriole Park at Camden Yards, a newer park.
Mm-hmm.
Wrigley Field was number 3.
Okay.
Oracle Park in San Francisco is number 2.
Okay.
And guess who is number 1? PNC Park.
Yeah.
I have been to that stadium a couple of times. It is beautiful, overlooking the river in downtown Pittsburgh. It is a beautiful park. Here's other ones that were notable. Dodger Stadium ended up at number 7. T-Mobile Park in Seattle was number 9. And guess who was last? Now, there are 2 teams.
Guess who was last?
No, so there are 2 teams that are playing in minor league or temporary stadiums.
They
One of
don't
them's
count?
they do not count. One of them's the Oakland A's, the other is the Tampa Bay Rays.
Don't call them the Sacramento A's.
Yeah. I call them the Oakland
Athletics,
A's.
actually. I think they're just called the
The
Athletics.
Athletics now?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
they're just called
So they're
the
playing in
Athletics. It's like the
Sacramento.
football team.
They're playing at a high school field in Sacramento. Not really. And then Tampa Bay is playing actually at Tampa Bay is actually playing at George Steinbrenner Stadium, a minor league park in Tampa, just outside of Tampa.
Oh, really?
That's where they're playing. So those don't count. So who was last?
Okay, so no Tampa and no Athletics.
Right, who was last?
Who's last? I feel like Colorado's pretty far down there usually.
No.
Okay, give me the league.
The league? It's an AL team.
AL team. I'm going to go with... I don't know. That's tough. I can only think of a lot of NL teams. So you got to just tell me.
Wright Field in Chicago, the White Sox home.
It was on the list for sure. Yeah, Chicago White Sox.
So number 3 on one side of the city,
Yeah.
number last on the other side of the city.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. Well, I did not think that we would have this happen, Danny, but we now have trades in college football. UCLA and Tennessee have pulled off a rare trade. No, not actually a trade, but Joey Aguilar, who transferred to UCLA just a few months ago, is now going to be transferring to Tennessee, and that's sort of in tune with Nico Iamaleava, who just left Tennessee to go to UCLA. Also, by the way, Iamaleava's brother is joining him at UCLA, so guess it makes sense. The reason why I think it's sort of funny is because you have an opening now at Tennessee where I know they had a guy at quarterback there that they were fairly comfortable with, but it seems like it just kind of makes sense that if there's an opening, that's where someone's going to go. So now we have trades in college football. This is exactly what we all wanted, Danny.
The Aya Malayeva kids, Nico and Max, they are no better to me than the Balls. Lonzo Ball, Lorenzo Ball,
I have some
Ball.
thoughts on that.
No, we're not going to do it right now because we gotta get to the phone and we gotta get.
That's fair.
We've got to get our guest
Yeah,
in.
we do. Yeah.
That'll be another subject. Maybe we can circle back to it at the end of the program. So hold that thought. That's our news and notes on the Danny and Justin radio program. Live from the Bigfoot Beverages studio. We'll go pay some bills, and when we come back, the initial journey. And if he's been listening to us at all, he's saying, what have I gotten myself into? One of the voices of your Eugene Emeralds, Matt Dompe, will be joining us on the program next on the Danny and Justin radio show for a Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in, Fox Sports Eugene. Now, Easton Talt was the hero last night in Corvallis. We'll talk about that in a minute as the Beavers win in the 12th inning against Gonzaga. A little tougher than they thought it was going to be in WCC non-league action. There you go. But let's head on over to the Oregon Mag Clinic's hotline and welcome in for the first time in this little circus we call the Danny and Justin radio program at 541-343-5673. It is one of the voices of our Eugene Emeralds. He's also the assistant general manager, director of finance, corporate sales. He also pops the popcorn and makes sure all the paper towels are there at your disposal. It's the great Matt Dompe joining us. Matt, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you guys for having me.
So let's start here. This crazy journey of yours, you've been at this for a little while. Did you always want to be a baseball broadcaster when you grew up?
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody that's, collecting baseball cards when they're 7, 8 years old, listening to the radio, I grew up in the Bay Area listening to KMBR and the Giants games on the radio. So, yeah, so it's literally a dream come true. I kind of pinch myself every time right before the game starts when I'm like, I'm going to talk about baseball on the radio today for my job. That's pretty cool.
So you didn't start with the Emeralds, but you've been there for the longest period of time. But you started out, if I'm reading this right, was it St. Elsinore?
Lake Elsinore.
Lake Elsinore. Okay, well, I'm sure there's a St. Elsinore somewhere around there as well, blessing the water. But Lake Elsinore. So you started up the ranks, and then you also went to Australia for a year in Perth. How was that?
That was cool. I mean, honestly, it kind of lined up perfectly with just where I was in my life. 23, 24 years old. They were opening up the Australian Baseball League. Major League Baseball was as kind of an alternative to going to maybe Latin America for winter ball. And the Australian Baseball League is still going, so I was there for the first two, I was going to say summers, I guess, our winter, their summers, down there setting things up. So the first year I got to travel everywhere to all these different test event sites where they were trying to find out where they wanted to put the teams. And then the second year I went back and was in Perth, which is the most isolated big city in the world. It's like 2,000 miles away from any other big city. But it was an amazing experience at that time. I felt like I was kind of on on MTV, like Road Rules. And I was just like, am I actually getting to do this? And again, I guess I get to do this and get paid.
Did you try Vegemite while you were there?
I did. I think I made it 1 or 2 bites. That was not for me.
Did you have any run-ins with any giant creatures there?
Yes, there was one time on I was on this like really remote golf course. I was like driving in the middle of the outback and I saw a golf course and I think I had borrowed somebody's clothes I had in the back of my car. Went over to play 9 and at some point something spooked all these dinosaur-looking birds and there was like just this giant flock of all these different birds that just started flying at a really low level and I literally just hit the deck. And then, once they were gone, I had to like get up slowly and look around and hope that nobody else saw me. So that was one of the most memorable encounters with, but there's also just some crazy things at the zoos, like a cassowary. Google that if you want, but that still keeps me up at night seeing those at zoos.
Yeah, I know. And there's some giant like spiders there and stuff that I don't even want to know about. So that kind of brings me to I saw something on your bio on the Emeralds website that your bio for your biography would be Swingers: A Life in Baseball While Dreaming About Playing Golf. So can you get into that a little bit?
Well, I mean, the subtitle kind of says it all, but those are like really my 2 main passions in life is I spend most of my time here at the ballpark doing stuff in and around baseball. And when I'm not doing that, I hope to be at the golf course.
Attaboy. It's Matt Dompe joining us, one of the Emeralds announcers. He's also the assistant GM there. And Eugene, our team here in the Emerald Valley, he joins us on the Danny and Justin radio program. We'll get to the players in a minute because it's a great product that year in and year out get put out on the field. But obviously we're going to address the big old elephant that's sitting over in the corner of the room, and it's about where the home of the Emeralds will be moving forward. And maybe a bit of, I don't want to say misinformation, but I think a bit of a misconception about, since what happened with the M's being told by Major League Baseball that they need to have certain facility, improvements or such, or whatever that was. M's looking to try and build a new home. That went down to defeat on a bond measure. So can you tell us what the state of the Emeralds and the situation in Eugene is now and then moving forward in the next couple of years?
Yeah, there's always a lot of confusion when you're trying to, get the word out about exactly what's happening. This process has been evolving for 4 or 5 years since Major League Baseball put out those facility standards that really affected every team. I don't think there was a single stadium in the country that was compliant when they first put them out. But yeah, with the vote going down last year, there were still a couple options that we were trying to look at in the last, 9 months or so, to try to stay in Eugene. But we did put out a press release maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago that we've really exhausted all options here in the Emerald Valley. So, that will come to a close. But the key thing that, we try to keep reminding people is this is not the last year of Emeralds baseball in Eugene and at PK Park. We're here for this year, probably at the very least another 2 years, maybe 3 or 4. It took us 4 or 5 years to exhaust all those options here in Eugene. So as we look at other markets, it's obviously going to take 2 or 3 years to get one of these facilities built. We're going to keep the party going for as long as we can here in Eugene. So that's really the key piece. This is not the last year of the Emeralds, but we want people to come out like they have for 70 years. We're actually celebrating our 70th anniversary this year. Come out with the family, come out and celebrate your kid's birthday, come out with the Little League team, come out with the company. We're still playing Emeralds baseball just like we always have.
Matt Dompe joining us on the Danny Justin radio program as we talk M's baseball. The M's are on the road for a little while longer. They come back home to Eugene in, I believe it's a week or so, Matt, if I'm right, and then you get busy again.
A week from today, yep.
A week from today, all right, and they're on the road taking on Spokane next. They are 8-7 in the Northwest League. They're 2 games behind Hillsboro in the standings right now. Emeralds announced that when they announced their coaching staff for the 2025 season, manager comes back, your hitting coach comes back, and other folks from the Giant system that have a long-standing relationship with the San Francisco Giants. So talk about first just the brain trust that is in that dugout for Eugene. It's kind of special.
It's really nice to have the continuity of having essentially the same coaching staff back again this year. So just knowing the guys and how they operate and being able to work with them, but the experience that they have with the players. We also have a lot of returning players this year, especially from the position player side of things, which is why our offense has been really strong to start the year. But Jeremiah Knackstead as the manager, Mario Rodriguez and the pitching coach. I mean, he's been with the Giants forever. And then Jared Walker was kind of a recent farmhand with the Dodgers and a few other teams. They really connect with the players. They're definitely like player-first coaches. And, they're great to work with because, we ask a lot of these guys, these players come in and these coaches come in from all over the country, show up here in April. And, we ask a lot of them as far as being on the video board with our silly little promos and, going to different community events. And these guys get it, and they're amazing to work with. And they always, push the players to get out there and meet the fans, sign autographs and all that stuff that makes, minor league baseball what it is.
So, and I want to also jump off right there. Minor league baseball, you get some of the best players out of the system, the players that the Giants want to try and develop, and they start with this long season. And what is it, Matt? Is it 76 games? Have I got that right, or is it a little bit more, a little bit less?
66 home games, so 132 games total home and away.
Oh, that's the long season now, right? That's right. It's the long season now.
Yeah, short season was 76 games total.
Okay. Well, see, and first of all, you got to understand, this is your first time with us. I'm an idiot. So, I have stuff that sticks in my brain for a while, and then it just stays there. So thanks for correcting me right out of the gate. That's a long haul. So you'll see players come in and out of the system. Some players will be coming back down. Most of them will be starting to head back up. So overall, you do get sometimes those high draft picks that start out here in Eugene.
Yeah, for sure. Like right now, we have the first round pick from last year. He came up maybe 2 weeks left in the season last season. James Tibbs III. He's out of Florida State. He's the highest drafted player out of Florida State since Buster Posey. So that's a nice connection. Since Buster would have had a hand in helping select him last summer. So yeah, he's an exciting player to watch in the outfield. Last year we had actually we're giving away a bobblehead of the first baseman that we had last year. It was the first round pick from 2023. Bryce Eldridge was a 19-year-old who just absolutely crushed this league, ended up getting all the way to AAA as a 19-year-old. We're doing a bobblehead of him in August, so mark your calendars on that one. But yeah, getting to see these guys come through. I mean, a few years ago, I think it was 2022 when we won the championship, Baseball America said we had the most talented roster to start the season in all of minor league baseball, and we were just stacked with like 3 or 4 first-round picks, a couple of second-round picks. So it's been exciting to move up to this level because at the short season level, I mean, these guys just played a whole college season. They're gassed by the time they get here in late June, and they just can't wait till the season's over because they want to go back home for the first time since probably Christmas break in college. Whereas now they've usually when they come here, they've got like a year of professional experience under their belts, and they kind of know the deal a little bit more, and they're more established as prospects, and we kind of know who's coming in and who's going out and how long they'll be here a little bit more because you can kind of see the writing on the wall with what's in the system. So it's been really fun to move up a couple of levels to the high A level.
And the guy that I'm also interested in on the team, Bo Davidson, he's the number 9 prospect in the Giants system. He's got kind of an interesting story. It sounds like part-time scout Paul Falks signed him and another non-drafted free agent out of the Coastal Plains League, and now he's one of the organization's better prospects. He was signed for $50,000, I should say. But sounds like he offers a really fun combination of kind of raw power and speed. Are you excited to see him when he gets back into Eugene?
Yeah, he had a 2-homer game that first week here at the ballpark. He did get hurt at the end of that, but he is actually, I think he's on his way to Spokane as we speak to join the team for tomorrow's game. But yeah, it's a crazy story. I mean, he was playing at a really small school down in the southeast. And actually, after his freshman year, kind of quit baseball for a year and a half, and then it wasn't until one of his buddies was going to another like small tech school over there that said, "Hey, come play baseball with me." He played another year and a half, put up some good numbers, and then got signed by the Giants. And yeah, last year he was kind of like doing okay, and then he got hurt midway through the season with a hamstring injury. Came back a few weeks later, and then he like hit 400 with 10 home runs the rest of the season, and was absolutely killing it. So he was a guy that it's fun. I'm actually from San Jose originally, so I get to keep my eye on the San Jose Giants and their roster because those are the guys that are the next step up for them is to come straight up here to Eugene.
It's Matt Dompe joining us. He's the assistant GM of the Eugene Emeralds, also one of the voices, the home radio voice that you'll hear. And he joins us on the Danny and Justin radio program. Let's talk about the arms. Josh Bostic, Josh Wolf, a couple of the better prospects, and the expectations high. Major leagues always need the arms. So talk about those two players out of the gate. I think Bostic already with 17 strikeouts in his first 3 starts. I mean, he's been mowing some people down. Yeah,
Bostic was electric. His first outing here in Eugene, I think he struck out 8 in 4 innings. They're still kind of limited to this time of year with coming out of spring training. They're limited right now to about 65 to 70 pitches. That'll slowly bump up as the season progresses. So not putting up huge innings numbers, but yeah, Bostic and Wolf are certainly two guys that are kind of carrying the pitching staff. I mean, don't check the box score from today. They actually had a day game in
saw it. Yeah, I'm not going to mention
Spokane at 11 a.m. And I think the final was 17-4. But hang with them. We're right back to 500, and we'll be back tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, updated. I printed off this morning, and I forgot about that day game. They're up in Spokane through, I think it's Sunday, right? And then they come back on the 29th, a week from today, against Everett for a home game set, and that'll be a nice little home stretch for you guys, and it'll put you to work as well, as you've got Everett all the way through Sunday, the 4th of May, and then back up to Hillsboro for a short road trip, and then, wow, looks like you guys have a couple of weeks at home after that out there at PK Park. Matt, the Northwest League has been steeped in change over the last few years, and it's still maintained a high level of quality. So talk about the competitiveness of the Northwest League for people who might not be familiar with how the top to bottom, there is some really, really good baseball.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are high A. So, I mean, like I said, these, the guys that get drafted, there's 20 rounds in the draft. So, you're taking the best of the best from college and the elite high school players. After the first year, maybe a few of them might not make it, but for the most part, they've got a year of experience. They're beyond that college level, and they're only 2 or 3 more phone calls away from making it to the big leagues. So it's really been, like I said, it's really been cool to see that bump in the quality of play over the last 5 years since we went from short season to the high A level. And this league, yeah, I mean, the rivalries that have developed, we always like to have a nice friendly rivalry with our in-state guys up in Hillsborough, the Hops. But even Vancouver and Spokane, like we've met them each a couple different times in the championship series over the last several years. And there's just, but minor league baseball is also interesting because there's not really much you build on from year to year because essentially the rosters are almost completely different from year to year.
Yep.
So, I mean, there are some weird anomalies where, when we won the championship in 2016, we hadn't won since 1975, an outright championship. And actually currently the Tri-City Dust Devils, they haven't won a championship since 1984 in this league.
Wow.
And that's very hard to do in a league that only had 8 teams for the longest time. Now it only has 6 teams, and they still haven't been able to push one across in 41 years. So, and I think they're at the bottom of the rung right now, so this might not be their year either. But, it's fun to see that every year there's just different guys, and, you keep your eye on the different prospects. The Everett in the Seattle system, they've had a lot of really good prospects the last several years. Like Julio Rodriguez just 4 or 5 years ago was coming through here. And so it's cool to see those guys make it to the big leagues really quickly. I mean, I don't know what the exact number is right now from the Giants, but, I'd say roughly 40 to 50% of their current roster at the big league level came through Eugene in the last 5 years.
One of the golden voices of the Eugene Emeralds joining us on the Danny and Justin radio program. It's Matt Dompe, who also wears the hat of Assistant GM, Director of Finance, Corporate Sales. I would say the radio gig's probably the fun part of your job. I guess everything's fun, though, at the minor league level. And that's where I want to kind of pivot to right now is the fan experience. You guys have promotions every single game. It's always a lot of fun. Sluggo's out there. The kids are involved. You can get obviously you get the adults involved with $10 Burger and Brew, Wild Weenie Wednesday. You guys have always done a great job. I've got an Exploding Whales jersey. I saw it when I was at a game last year. I was like, I got to get myself one of those, and so now I wear that around the house. My wife says, "What are you doing with that?" And I said, "It's iconic." So talk about who brings these things to life. Are you guys just sitting around late at night? And, is it Taco Bell? Is it Dr. Pepper that is kind of the impetus of all these crazy things you guys do?
It's probably more Bud Light. But, yeah, I mean, it is basically in the off season. We spend, the last hour and a half of every Monday, Wednesday, Friday just sitting around as a staff and just trying to come up with silly ideas. It's just a minor league tradition to try to kind of push the envelope. It's to be honest, in the 20 years that I've been doing it, the envelope is harder and harder to push, especially because now we've got some more, with our PDL license with MLB, there's a little bit more corporate oversight of what we can and can't do. But we're still finding fun ways to, the Wild Weenie Wednesday is one that our staff and a lot of the fans have already gotten really excited about. If you wear we put out a thing that said if you wear a hot dog costume, you get a free ticket. I mean, my cynical personality was like, who's going to buy a hot dog costume to get free tickets on Wednesday nights? Well, we've had multiple offices and groups of friends that have sent in pictures on social media like, we got our costumes, we're ready to go on Wednesdays. We're going to have different promotions every Wednesday where you can beat that weenie. We're going to have, where you race a weenie, and if you win, you get, free hot dogs for the rest of the year, whatever it is. There's a golden weenie every game where if you go to the concession stand, you end up with the golden weenie. You get a special grand prize. So always just kind of come up with new things. And keep it fresh because, if you just open the doors and say, hey, we got a baseball game, certainly there's people that want to come out to watch a baseball game, but that's not really what minor league baseball is as a business and hasn't been for the last 30 years where we're just constantly trying to come up with fun ways to, and the thing I really like when you mentioned the Exploding Whales is it's trying to be in a reflection of your community, so Florence is obviously our closest coastal town. So having a little fun with a mishap from 50 years ago is a blast. But we also do a Merry Pranksters alternate identity where we have some fun with the pranksters and kind of the hippie culture and some of that part of the history of Eugene. We're actually on one of those games this year. We're working on getting the Further Bus out here for one of our prankster games. And then you have Los Monarcas de Eugene with, the Latin population has been growing in the 15 years that I've lived here in Eugene. And we've had great turnout on our Sunday games when we, have a bilingual PA announcer and the players wear specialty uniforms. And instead of the Emeralds, they're Los Monarcas de Eugene. So all these different alternate identities and all this fun promotional stuff, I mean, it just keeps it different, keeps it light, and, we get to do fun stuff like, have Wildlife Safari come out here with a cheetah that they bring out on the field. There's not a lot of jobs that you get to see a cheetah and eat free hot dogs and, do all this fun stuff. And like I said, somehow we get paid for it.
And Matt Dompe joining us from the Eugene Emeralds. And one last thing on a personal, you talk about promotions. You were involved in a promotion years ago with a gender reveal. So was that your idea, or did you get talked into it by the staff?
That's a good question. It was 7.5 years ago now.
Your first daughter, right?
Is our first daughter, Elaine, and so it was towards the end of the season. I don't know. I think where it came up with was like the only date that worked for the gender reveal party was when we had a game. So my wife was like, well, I guess we have to do it at the game and somehow incorporate it into the game. So we had the pitching coach and the hitting coach come out between innings, and the pitching coach tossed the ball to the hitting coach. He smashed it, and it was a pink smoke came out. And so that's how we knew we were having our daughter.
Now, that's fantastic. And your wife's got to be a good sport because you put a lot of hours in, buddy.
Yeah, the baseball widow thing is definitely a real thing with 66 home games. I mean, it was tough enough when we were gone all summer with the 38 home games that we had during the short season time. But basically doubling that and making it the spring and the summer, it is a grind, and we are at the ballpark quite a bit. So I obviously appreciate with two little girls, there's a lot of work at home to be done, and I appreciate what she does with all that.
We are only as good as our spouse. And so, believe me, I know that every single day. So, by the way, if you ever need anybody to lead the seventh inning stretch, take me out to the ball game, Danny and Justin can come out and we'll get on the microphone. We're a couple of Chicago kids, so we grew up on that, just so you know.
Oh. I will take that under advisement. We can make that happen.
All right, buddy. Yeah, there we go. See, awesome. I'm pimping for us right there. Matt, thank you. This is first of, I hope, many, many visits with you to get an update on the M's throughout the season. We appreciate everything you do here in the community, and go M's.
All right. Thank you guys so much for having me. I look forward to doing it again.
All right. There goes the great Matt Dompe from the Eugene Emeralds. As we get ready to put a wrap on the program, we still got to talk about Oregon State's win last night. And what Oregon is going to be doing tonight at home. You got a game at PK Park tonight, by the way, 5:05 first pitch against Portland. We'll put a big bow on the show, dad joke as well, as we return on the Danny Justin radio program here for a Tuesday Fox Sports Eugene. Thanks once again to Matt Dompe from the Eugene Emeralds. They're going to be back home a week from tonight at PK Park for a stretch that'll take them through Sunday, as the Oregon men's baseball team, who are at PK Park tonight, will be on the road in Big Ten play. There again, and a critical stretch for them as well. Let's start there as Oregon hosting Portland. This is a stretch now that will be, I think, five non-conference games right near the tail end of the season, because it'll be the game here against Portland tonight and then 4 against Oregon State, and then they finish out the balance of the regular season in conference play. Oregon's trying to avenge the 7-6 loss to Portland, and this is actually the rubber game of the series this season, because Oregon beat Portland to start out the series. Actually, no, this is
this is game two.
This is game 2. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
The last Oregon win was back in 2024. That was the last time they played before this year. Okay, so this is the second game of the series. And so the best they can hope for is a tie in the non-conference. So Oregon tonight, 5:05, and let's see who's on the bump for the Ducks. If I get it out here, it's Will Sanford, who's 2-2 on the season, 5.51 ERA. Oregon's looking to keep the momentum going after a series victory over UCLA, a big one in the Big Ten last weekend.
You think they've done enough to get themselves back in? I mean, I know we were talking about yesterday. Iowa's obviously a 3-game lead. They're going to play Iowa 3 games. So
I said bubble, and I still say bubble. To me, it's kind of like, and I was pretty adamant when it came to Dana Altman's team in the NCAAs, where I felt like if they get to that certain plateau of wins, then you got enough eyeballs on you get in. They did. I think in this instance, Oregon wins the Big Ten either tournament championship or wins the regular season title. Yes, they're going to host. I think they're in as an at-large right now. I don't think that's a question.
Yeah, that's not...
But hosting is a wildly different scenario for Oregon in terms of their chances to move on to the Super Regionals. So I want them to be able to, just like I want Oregon State to be able to host a regional. And then I want to see the local teams get to that next step. But for Oregon, as we've heard from Stitchhead Eric Sorensen, that we've heard from other baseball pundits that we've had on the program, the RPI is not great. And so you got to lean into the conference, and the conference is not that great this year.
No.
But the tournament will definitely give a nod to the Big Ten champion to let them host a regional. They are not going to say no Big Ten champion is going to, you're not going to have any Big Ten teams hosting regionals. That would just not happen. So that's where I think it's important for Oregon to get that. I don't think there's going to be more than one or two from the Big Ten that host regionals.
Yeah,
and
probably.
So you got to be one of those.
Yeah, by the way, they're still behind UCLA in the standing. So it's not like they
closed the gap by a game. They closed the gap by a game. But the 3-game series with Iowa there to end the season is going to be the critical one.
Yes. I do have to say, though, I mean, I'm sure it did not hurt their RPI that they beat 2 out of 3 against UCLA as well. So, I mean, their RPI probably isn't still super amazing, but it's helpful.
Oregon State defeated Gonzaga 4-3, and they're back on the field today. In fact, they started about 45 minutes ago, so maybe we get an update on that score before we get off the air. That is the 2-game midweek series, and that's the last one for Oregon State before they take on the Ducks here at PK Park. Iva Arquette was named the Golden Spikes Player of the Week, National Player of the Week. He extended his hit streak to 11 games. Easton Talt, infield singles, a little nubber with 2 down in the 12th, and scores the winning run as he beat out the throw to first. Gonzaga hung with him. Now, Oregon State's 31-7 on the season. Gonzaga fell to 18-18 on the year. Did we get a score of the Oregon State game? Is it coming up? You got it coming up? All right. So the bigger thing right now for the Ducks and the Beavers is they battle mano-a-mano starting in a series that begins Friday. They'll play 4 games, 3 of them at PK Park, and then the last one will be over or up the road at Goss Stadium. Not over. It's over and up I-5 at Goss Stadium for the Beavers and the Ducks. That'll be a Tuesday matchup, and then they won't see each other unless they meet in the postseason.
Gonzaga 2, Oregon State nothing, top of the 4th inning.
Another tight one.
Yeah.
So in Gonzaga's a 500 team, and the Zags are hanging with the Beavs, giving them all kinds of trouble. But a win's a win's a win.
A couple of first-inning runs for Gonzaga.
RPI is going to dip a little bit if Oregon State drops this game because a home loss to a team that's hovering around 500 doesn't do well for you.
No.
But Oregon State's RPI is much better than Oregon's right now.
And Oregon State also has benefited by a lot of the top teams across the nation losing series. I know Tennessee lost, Georgia got swept, so that's why they moved up in the rankings, is because they swept a team that wasn't very good, but a lot of the teams around them lost to teams as well. So.
All right, so one other quick note about the rest of this week. We're going to have Kenyon Barner on the program tomorrow to talk NFL draft. Kenyon's in town to MC the draft night party at the Oregon Club at Autzen Stadium at the club on Thursday night. We're going to be there broadcasting live. You'll see us on the YouTube channel. We'll have a YouTube channel up through Fox Sports Eugene. You can watch the 2-hour program. We're going to have lots of guests, lots of players. The event's sold out at the club at Autzen, so you cannot get any tickets. Got to do dad joke.
Oh, a joke!
I got fired from the bank today. A woman asked me to check her balance, so I pushed her.
Dad jokes!
All right. Why couldn't the toilet paper cross the road?
Oh, well, I definitely don't know.
You know this one. Because it got stuck in the crack.
All right. Oh, man.
So, if you want to hear from some of the past Oregon players discussing the draft, I think the best way you do it right now, unless you already have a ticket to the Oregon Club event, is to watch us on YouTube on Thursday night live from the club at Autzen Stadium, the Danny and Justin radio program on the road. And in living color, we'll be taking votes on who's more attractive.
Yes, we will.
And not just Danny and Justin. Put a smile on your face, someone else's. They deserve it. So do you. God bless each and every one of you. For Baby J, I'm Danny. Peace.